Which master have you chosen to serve? Recently, this has been something stirring in my spirit, and it was a confirmation when I attended church just yesterday. The pastor spoke about pretty much a word that I was really thinking about saying and speaking about. That's not only linking to where I am at in my walk, how I'm feeling, and ultimately what God is putting inside me to choose. And it's such an important aspect to understand being a Christian and being a believer in God and Jesus Christ, because we are in a world that's led by fulfilling our fleshly desires. And, when we spend our day, outside from where we are most comfortable, like our homes with our families, and we are outside with people that are different to us, believing in different things, it's so easy to be caught up in conversations. It's so easy to play the character that you would play at work that's different to who you actually are, the person that God's created you to be. And I found myself in many, many times of my life, finding that whenever I'm outside, especially when I'm a bit away from my faith, a bit away from my relationship and spending time with God, that I'm often led to kind of almost just feel like whatever decision that I would make, it was not with Jesus in mind. It was more so, what's the best way I can explain this? It's more so not concerned and not reflective. It's just do as I want, how it makes me feel. And if others are doing it, whatever, I'll do it, and especially in a working environment, especially if I was to bring up my time in car sales, whether that be smoking cigarettes when you're with customers or smoking cigarettes when there's downtime with some of the guys that you work with, or going out after work and having drinks when you're working in the city. All these types of things, you can be using your imagination. But point I'm trying to make is that it's so easy to find yourself just being so okay with the worldly way of living, right? Now, please understand, I'm not trying to say that certain things that you're doing, I'm not trying to say that that's wrong and you're wrong or anything like that. Use your own discernment for that. Where I am in my own life, I've come to, ultimately a place where God has shown me personally that, there are certain things you just don't do, and there are certain things that you do through trial and error, doing the same thing over and over again, and realizing that I can't continue going down this path, right? For me personally, it's drinking, it's smoking weed, it's smoking cigarettes, it's profanity usage, playing a character that you would play, at work, compared to just actually truly being yourself and, spreading the word of God. Now, what I want to speak about first off is a verse that I believe is so important to know and to actually understand. It's very simple to understand. And sometimes maybe the Bible, there's a lot of complicated verses that maybe you think, oh, I don't want to read that because it's too hard. It's actually quite simple, and it should convict you to make you realize that it's so important to choose either one side or the other. So in Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, it says, "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon." Now, I think in our lives as Christians, we've definitely served two at the same time, God and mammon, being the devil, right? And ultimately what that is being lukewarm, when you are not sure enough, if you are not choosing one way. Maybe you think you're choosing God. Maybe you think that, I'm a believer, I pray to God, when things get tough, I look upon God. But that doesn't mean that you are specifically choosing, God over mammon, over the devil. And realistically, what that verse speaks to me is that it's not, you can't be 50-50 in your faith. To truly see the benefits of being a Christian, and when I say the benefits, I mean, having true discernment, having your heart completely changed, having your eyes set upon Jesus, and being used as a vessel purely, right? You can't be 50-50 with your faith, or else you'll be going back and forth, being lukewarm. God wants you to choose either one way, which is the narrow way, which is God's way, or the other way, which is truly a lukewarm person, back and forth, going back and forth all the time. Not only is going back and forth tiring and exhausting, but you're not really truly set on your belief. You're still kind of all up in the air, or maybe you're just not as deep as you think. And I've gone through so many experiences in my life where there were times where I thought I was, so deep in my relationship, and maybe I was, but the way I look at it now, in all those times of my life, I still prioritized a lot of things of this world over actually truly being a vessel to be used for God. And where I'm at in my life right now, I've learned that there is nothing more important to me than being a vessel to be used for God and to glorify God. When I was younger, I was always so aware that I'm going to be used by God. God's got a big thing for me to do in this life, and I was always in my spirit, I have a purpose that God's going to reveal to me. But I always thought of it being something more so specific to me, and it's like all the things that I tried, from different jobs to different, things that were, not the normal. Like, I would always notice it wasn't for me. So I said, okay, if this stuff's not for me, my purpose is going to be deeper, something different. And then the thing is that I almost wanted that to be more, whatever God had for me, to be something that was so big, and that would be almost prideful of me to be seen as this person that's got all this, that wisdom and this and that, or whatever it may be. It wasn't coming from a place of evil. It was just more prideful. But I've come to see, just recently it hit me, especially through all this time that I've been spending with God, willingly, where He's been changing my heart, changing me and my idea of things. And I've realized that my purpose is to bring souls back to Jesus, to bring people, like, there's nothing better in my life I can think right now. I don't want to do anything in this life that is to actually validate me being a person that's gone out and hustled hard and spent all the time, building these things and making a name for myself, and people thinking of me as such a warrior in all the areas of my life. Like, that is rubbish to me right now, where I am at. Where I am at in my walk is that I think the best thing I can do in my life is to actually bring souls back to Jesus. And that's not out of my own, intention, as though like I'm just this person in the eyes of God. No, rather me being a vessel, right? A vessel that is the same as anybody else, that I sin on a regular basis, that I am not perfect, but I'm still able to be used by God. But my heart has been changed to be used by God, and to start to see that the most important thing in this life is not got anything to do with me. Rather, that I can share an individual experience that can touch certain people in this world, and ultimately reveal the light, which is God, which is Jesus Christ. So this verse really touched me and convicted me, because it's so true, and I've come to learn through my own experiences and trials and errors, and constant going back to my old ways, going back to the vomit that God has brought me out from. And seeing ultimately that it's not worth it. You should choose one or the other, because being 50-50 means you're staying away from God, a true relationship, a true heart change, a true life-changing experience that you can only really get when you give your 100% to God. Now, we can never truly be always on fire. You can't. You're gonna be, you're a human being, I'm a human being, we're always gonna be falling short. But when your heart is in the right place, even through that sin that you're dealing with and the temptations that you feel like are bigger than you, your heart that God is working on, whilst you're giving it to Him, submitting to Him, surrendering to Him, you keep surrendering your heart to God and things start to change. The way you feel starts to change. It's not explainable to the normal person. A person that doesn't believe in God, they will not understand this. But it's a spiritual thing that happens inside. And as I've been submitting, I have started to yet again see, but this time it's really different. I'm starting to want to just be on fire for God. And I'm so grateful that, YouTube is there for me to share things that I've learned, to connect to someone, just someone. I don't care if it's hundreds, thousands, or even just 10 people, because I just want to be able to put my stories out there, put my lessons out there, and allow the lessons to be glorifying Jesus Christ, the number one, the most important, the Alpha and Omega of my life. And we will always have to be in a place of choosing which side we want to go. And I guarantee you that if you're a person that is lukewarm and you are not actually choosing completely one versus the other, then you're always going to be in your sin, that constant recycled sin of the same things, whether it be addictions or, anything for that matter. So I know that this can be a bit of a confronting word if someone listens to it. Some will say, nah, God knows my heart. He sees me. I'm working hard. I'm doing all these things. But you got to ask yourself, you got to be real with yourself. If you love God and He is so important to you, wouldn't you want that to actually be known? Why is it that when you go to work and you go to places, you are scared to speak about Jesus? You are scared to speak about your belief. In this world, Christianity is not, there is no safe place to speak about Christianity. Everyone has all bad things to say about Christianity if you're a believer, but everything else is fine to talk about. And people, they get scared and nervous about protecting their faith in front of other people. And I understand, because I've gone through this more than I've actually felt this feeling to share. So I'm in the same boat. I was in the same boat. But the point I'm trying to make here is that this recent lesson I've learned is that you have to choose one or the other. Because if you love God with all your heart, the way He's called you to live is to share, is to spend your time with Him as much as you possibly can. He sees your heart in these areas. You're obviously not going to spend 24 hours a day praying to God, right? But as much time as you can when you spend with God and you talk to God and you allow Him to work. And the more you do that, this feeling comes of love and desire to just be with God and feel Him and understand Him. And you start to burn for Him and you want to just tell people and you want to start talking to everyone about it. That's a true love for something, a passion for something. You know what I mean? And if you're not doing that, you got to reflect and say, why is it that I'm not feeling that? Is it because maybe I'm lukewarm? Because I'm still attracted to the things of this world. Are you still attracted to the things of this world? Because if you are, it's not to say you're wrong for it, right? But it's important to recognize that maybe you're not actually focusing enough on your relationship with God. Because if you were, you may have a little bit more conviction on what it says in the Bible about choosing one from the other. This is something that I've just recently really been thinking about and being actually more tough on myself. To be a Christian is to not just think that, all right, I believe in God and that's all good. Maybe that's fine for you. But I believe to actually be not a successful, but to be a Christian that's deep in relationship with his creator, he learns, he searches, he seeks after God in the Bible, in different preachings, and wisdom starts to come. God can even just give you wisdom when you spend time with him, And once that happens, there's a transformation that happens in you. You will see that you're no longer the same. And it's such a beautiful thing to experience. So I urge the viewer to actually think about it, reflect. Am I constantly going back and forth from these areas that seem to have just not left my life, the things that bring me down? Am I going back to these things, Mammon is basically evil, the devil, right? But you don't have to say, like alcohol, let's say alcohol, for example. Alcohol is not the devil. Alcohol is not evil, right? The actual form. But when something like alcohol is a vice in your life and you have no control over it, maybe it's a once a week thing, maybe it's a once a month thing, but you have no control over that. Has to be that way. Or it's a way out, a time for you to release all of your stresses, and you just want to relax and take the ease, take the stress off, and take you know what I'm trying to say. Then realistically, that is your mammon. That is the evil in your life that's holding you back from God. The devil works in the worldly things to grab your attention and keep you set and stuck like concrete, where you can't actually move forward, move higher. God is the reason why you get out of your turmoil. And I've gone through that process, as I've explained, with many things in my life, where I'm the cleanest I've been ever in my life, in many areas. From watching pornography, to drinking, to smoking, to the use of profanity. I watch my tongue so much and how I speak. The way I used to speak, I can't speak. Like 5 years ago, and each year, leading up to where it is now, I've been getting more and more convicted, where if I say a word that's like a swear word, I may say something, but it doesn't sit right with me anymore. I don't feel good when I say it. It actually upsets me. And it's because of that transformation, this invisible transformation that Jesus is doing in you. Because you're starting to, see that there is a separation between the things of God and the things of this world. So make your choice if you really want to go deeper. If you really want to see your life change in the hands of Jesus, you got to choose him 100%. Be more mindful with what you're doing. Spend more of your time thinking about what's bringing you down and staying away from it. Physical and mental. But this is something that I believe is important for us Christians to realize and know. And I wanted to share this because it was on my spirit, especially the confirmation after hearing in church. So, please let me know if you're going through this as well in the comments. I want to hear what people are going through and if they're relating to this word. But if this word relates to you and you feel it, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know. And it will let me know that you've gone through this, that, we're open to say that we're just human beings, that sometimes We lack clear direction because of our own choices, like choosing, to be lukewarm, not choosing one from the other. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. God bless you.